Hi everyone, I'm Carolyn Ray, the editor of JourneyWoman, and I'm thrilled to be with our writing team tonight, at least some of them, who are dialing in from around the world, from the US, Canada, and even Australia. We wanted to introduce you to the women who are working behind the scenes to bring you great travel content. And we're also going to highlight some of our upcoming features in our September issue. But I'm going to start with a question to everybody here, which is, what is happening in travel? What's on your minds? And just open it up to the women here on the call.
Well, go ahead, Karen.
Okay, I'm Karen Dershowitz, and I'm in New York City. And as many people know, the United States is kind of off of people's radar to travel to. And New York City is certainly in the midst of it. Tourism has dropped. And it's not helping that our airports are a disaster area at the moment, because Newark is closed down every other day because of mechanical and systems problems. Kennedy Airport is totally torn up, and it takes an hour once you get into the airport to get out of it or to get into it. And so New York is really suffering from tourism being dropped. And as I talk with people who are not from New York, people are afraid to come. I was in Mexico recently, I was in Europe recently, and just talking to friends that I have in other parts of the world, it's like, yeah, well, come over here. We don't really want to go to the States at the moment. So,
Yeah.
a lot of problems.
Agreed. I'm Diana Eden. I live in Las Vegas, and so I was brought up in Toronto, so I'm part Canadian, part U.S. And our tourism here in Las Vegas has dropped significantly, and there are a number of reasons. But we have lost quite a percentage. I hear it's 30% of Canadian tourism. So that's a significant number of people who aren't coming to visit. And our airports happens to be in great shape, pretty good. They're expanding it as always, but that's just one small part. But my family even won't come to visit me for Christmas. And even my sister, who I travel with a great deal, if we're going to go to Europe, we have to take separate routes, because I say, oh, meet me in New York and we'll fly together from New York. She says, nope, we won't come through the US. So, it has definitely affected travel and the routes we take and the ease with which we get from one place to another.
Let's hear from some of the Canadians here.
Okay, so in relation to what Diana said, being a Canadian who was in the US recently, I was really, really surprised that when I stopped and some Americans saw the Canadian license plates, they came over to thank me for coming, which was a real surprise. I've never had that happen before. Also, some of the border towns have started to have events in Montreal, where they came to the farmers market in the city, and they had all kinds of signs inviting us to come down, giving us promotions and trying to drum up business, which I thought was a great idea.
Same type of thing here. I live in, my name's Kathy Donaldson. I live in Moncton, New Brunswick on the east coast of Canada. And I have the interesting situation where I have a family cottage. I married a gentleman from Montreal. We have a family cottage in Maine, of all places. So I just coming back from the state of Maine, quite a lot of internal turmoil, to be honest, of whether I was going to go or not. But given that it's a family cottage, it's our home. It's another, it's a summer home. So we did go, and I share Sandra's comments about, people welcoming us, being glad that we were there. I know the governor of Maine has been up in New Brunswick doing lots of PR and trying to woo people across the border, and even the border patrol guards were practically saying, come on down, come on in. So, it's definitely interesting. And certainly the American friends that we have were several of them saying, sort of jokingly, but not really jokingly, can I move into your spare room? So, it was very heavy there. I got the sense of a lot of heaviness amongst some of those folks. So yeah,
we just did a reader poll a few weeks ago, a pulse survey, and we asked JourneyWoman readers if they would be comfortable traveling to the US in the next 4 years. And then it's actually gone up since the last time we asked this question, from 70% to 74%. So in the next 4 years, both Americans and Canadians, so it's not just the Canadians, but it's everybody. Mm-hmm. What do you all think the future holds for Canada and the US? And Australia, feel free to jump in here.
Yeah, too, I'll just jump in. I'm Carolyn Beasley. I'm on the west coast of Australia in the city of Perth. Australians are talking about this, whether to go to the US or not. I'm finding it's quite a mixed bag. From a travel writer's perspective, we have the US tourism boards here trying to lure travel writers back to the States. So I feel like they are actually encouraging the travel writers to go. The newspaper travel sections, the editors still feel that Australians are interested in going, and they are still running stories. We've also had quite a lot of stories about what it's actually like to try and fly into the States at the moment, and there's been quite a few, I'm sure you've had these as well, but quite a few disturbing stories about people being detained and questioned, and people going through their phones looking for social media posts. So that has put a lot of people off. A lot of people are very worried. But for Australians, the US will always be a popular destination, I think.
Okay, I can Maureen? Yeah, I'll jump in. I know there's. Okay, I'm Maureen Littlejohn. I'm based in Toronto, and I was at a conference in Chicago recently, and I was very distressed to hear about what's happening to Chicago right now with the anti-crime National Guard stuff. And I think that's also quite upsetting for Washington. Washington, D.C. is such a fabulous city with its museums, and it's become quite off-putting to hear about, armed soldiers in the streets. So it's a little bit scary. I think a lot of my friends are quite worried about the same thing that Carolyn was talking about. What am I going to deal with at the border, whether it's in an airport or at the like a land border, as far as my social media, as far as all my private stuff. So that's concerning, and I think I have so many friends in the States, and I love so many places down there, but there are concerns. There's definitely concerns right now, and I think it's going to take a while for this to bubble, until we know what to do.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the places you all have been to and some alternative destinations that women might feel safe. Has anyone traveled anywhere interesting lately?
Well, it's not an unusual place. It is quite a well-known place. But I had never been to Maui, and I had an opportunity to go. So I thought, this is great. Of course, it is U.S., so we didn't have any of those issues. But it reinforced to me that there are many places to go which are not big cities and which do not have the threat of National Guard coming in or the threat of crime. Maui impressed me by how really uninhabited it was. It's just a road around the outside of the island and maybe one road across the middle, and lots of beaches and beauty. And it was wonderful to spend some time there and just to, untether from all of the news reports and be in the moment. That really was special. To wake up in the morning, to go sit on our little lanai and hear the birds sing and look at the bougainvillea and then go to the beach and look at the beautiful water. That is really, I think, some of the things that help heal the soul.
So a little bit of an escape from what we're seeing on the news. Yeah. Kathy, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was just going to say that sort of on a similar front, one of the things that I've done this year, in part because I haven't been traveling to the US, and that's largely because a lot of the folks that I would pitch stories to haven't been accepting work from US destinations. So I've shifted to more of a Canadian focus. And in my particular case, I've really kept it fairly close to home and kept it Atlantic Canada, and focusing on some of those destinations and really enjoying. Sometimes it's one of those situations of it's fun to get to know your backyard a little bit better. And so I've been fortunate to do a piece for the Toronto Star on the wonders of the Fundy Coast in New Brunswick, which is along the Bay of Fundy, and doing a lot of interesting stories in that area, and in St. Andrews, which is another sort of resort town in that area. And my shift in hearing all of the heaviness and all of the, I don't want to say drama, because it's people's lives that are happening in the US, and you know, difficulties that people are faced with, but I'm trying to amp up, I think, the joy in travel, and kind of enthusing people to get out there and just get beyond the news, turn off your phones for a bit, and explore and get back to nature and get outside, because that's where we can really live and make ourselves feel good in this difficult, challenging time.
I've been traveling in Europe. Okay, I've been traveling in Europe to France and to Munich in Germany. And in France, I went to the west side, to like Carcassonne and Lourdes and that part, and it was just lovely. It wasn't terribly crowded. The food was just as wonderful as Paris. I also learned online that there are Michelin restaurants in France, but there's also Bib Gourmand, which are kind of Michelin restaurants for a lower price. So in Lyon, I was able to have a dinner, like a 3-course dinner in a Paul Bocuse restaurant for about 35 euros, with absolutely phenomenal service, delicious food out in the countryside. So there are ways to go into different corners of the world and eat well and have fun traveling.
I've just come back from Thailand, which was a lovely trip. I actually flew into the island of Phuket, which I'm sure you've heard of. It's very, very resorty. But I traveled across the bridge to the mainland, which is only 30 minutes from the airport. And I stayed in a 12-room boutique 5-star hotel there on the beach, the beach is just as beautiful as it is in Phuket, but absolutely zero crowds, just no one around. So that was really beautiful. And then I headed 2 hours inland to the jungle there, to Khao Sok National Park, which was a very wonderful eco experience, lots of wildlife there. You can hear gibbons in the jungle in the morning, and you couldn't be further from all this political turmoil that you're describing. So it was actually really wonderful.
Yeah, and I was in Bequia, which is part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and booked kind of a last minute trip down there in the middle of August. And what I didn't realize is actually most of the island shuts down in September. So just on the fringes of that, where it was very hard to find anything to do other than read and enjoy the beach. And it's kind of what you're saying, Diana, just like having a little time off, which I think sometimes I feel guilty about that I'm not being active and adventurous on a holiday. But on the other hand, sometimes we just need it to like recharge a little bit.
Yeah.
In June, I was in Taiwan, where I'd never been to before. And I went there because it was my grandnephew's graduation from high school. And I had given every one of my nephews and nieces for their graduation a present of wherever they wanted to travel to. And he picked Taiwan. And I didn't even know why until I realized that he had been studying Chinese for 4 years, but didn't want to go to mainland China. And it was an incredible experience. First of all, traveling with him, although he refused to speak one word of Chinese the entire time we were there, which just made me laugh. But we got out of Taipei, went up into the national parks. We went out pretty far afield. And it was an incredible, incredible trip. And the people were so fabulous. And the food is, people were talking about food. I've never had food like that, ever.
Mm.
And if you think you know what Chinese food is like, don't. Until you go to Taiwan, it is totally different and way better. Just amazing, amazing food.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they have street markets that you can go to. And there are all these crazy foods. And fortunately, he's very adventurous. So we tried everything. Our favorite being the frozen fried milk, excuse me, which is, yeah. And we're going, frozen fried milk, we got to try this. I don't know what it is, but we're trying it. And it actually is this like custard that's put into a coating and then deep fried. And so you bite into it and it goes all over the place. But it was wonderful.
That sounds great. I want to spend 1 minute and talk about our upcoming September issue, which we are focusing all on places to stay. And by the time you see this, it will be out. But Carolyn, could you talk a little bit about the article you wrote for this issue, which is about community homestays in Nepal?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that. So we started this trip in Nepal. We started in Kathmandu. This organisation works with about 50 communities across Nepal, and the homestay element is you literally go and stay in someone's home. So it might be some spare bedrooms, but you're hosted by the whole community. So they have to have at least 5 households participating within the community. Some of the other activities are just activities. Sometimes you don't actually stay with the family. So we might have been staying with one family and then we'll go over to another village where they'll host us for lunch or take us on a guided hike. Some of them do dumpling cooking courses. The dumplings there are called momos and they're incredibly delicious. But the actual tour that I went on went to an area in far eastern Nepal called Dankuta. And it's an area where tourism is just beginning. So our small group were the only international tourists in this town. And in fact, I'd say we were probably some of the only international tourists that have ever been there. They probably get a few Indian tourists, but aside from that, there was no one who looked like us at all. It was just wonderful. We felt incredibly welcomed. We had guides who were just learning how to be guides. A lot of them were women. They're really starting with their tourism journey. And we went and stayed in a rural community where they were farming up this hillside, and we stayed in these little houses that ran down the hillside. There were different ethnic groups. We met 3 different ethnic minorities while we were there. And the hospitality that we felt from those people was just so wonderful. There was a real cultural exchange too. It wasn't just us having a wonderful experience from them and paying them some money, which obviously uplifts particularly the women in the community, but they were actually really thrilled to meet us as well, which that's something I didn't see coming, was that they were going to be really excited to meet us as we were to meet them. So yeah, it was quite an eye-opening trip.
Wonderful. And Diana, you have an article on homestays and home exchanges.
Yes, absolutely. Well, this is something I discovered kind of late in life when I became widowed and therefore a single, sometimes solo older traveler. And I found that sharing a house with some friends was not only a really economical way to travel, it gave us a really upscale experience, which shared between 4 or 5 people. Excuse me, sorry about that. But also gave us the ability to live and support the local businesses. we bought all our groceries at the local grocery store. We would go to the local restaurants and cafes and bars. We would even book our tours. If we wanted to go out on a boat or something, we would do that through a local organization rather than one of the big consolidators. So I found it just a wonderful way to travel. And also the home exchange program, which has been around for a long time and quite common in Europe, but not so common here, where you either literally exchange your home with somebody else simultaneously, or you can go when they non-simultaneously and pay with guest points, and you earn guest points by hosting people. And I have hosted a number of European travelers here at my house over the past couple of years and loved it. I meet wonderful people from all over. I've never, ever had a moment of doubt as to how they would keep my house or my guest room or anything like that. And it's really been eye-opening. And so in terms of budget and in terms of a safe way to travel and a way to support the local community when you do travel, to me, it's just been great.
Amazing. Well, why don't we end with a little chat about who's off to where, and any inspiration you can leave people with about less traveled places or kind of off the beaten track. Maureen, could I start with you?
Sure. So I have a trip coming up, which I'm busily putting all the jigsaw pieces together. I'm going to Sorrento, and then I'll go to Naples, and then I'm going to another small coastal town between Naples, which I can't remember the name of. It starts with an S. It's a coastal town, anyway, and then to Rome, and then my husband will meet me there, and then we're taking off on a repositioning cruise back to the North America. So I am busily putting all these pieces together, and it's lots of fun, a little stressful sometimes because prices are crazy, but whatever, this is what we do, so I'm going to make it happen. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, a lot of research and planning.
Yeah.
Where do you find your repositioning cruise deals?
There's a website called Go Vacations. I don't know if you know that one, but it usually lists a few months of deals of like all the cruise lines. So that's how we found it.
Great tip. Thank you. Karen, what about you?
Well, on Friday, I am heading off to Ireland. I'm going to be in the northwest coast, up in the Donegal area in Kilkenny, and for about a week. And then I've never been up in Northern Ireland, and seeing as how I'm so close, I thought, well, I'll go there next, only to find out that unless you rent a car and drive it, you have to go back through Dublin. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to go back to Dublin and then up into Northern Ireland and spend about a week up there, just wandering around because I've never been there. So that's the next.
Lovely. So up to Belfast and
up to Belfast, and I may rent a car for a day or two just to go out up along the coast. I didn't really want to do it for a whole week. So
yeah, and plus you have to drive on the other side of the road, right?
Oh, I'm used to that. I've actually done
okay. For me, that would be not such a great idea. That's great. And Kathy, what are your plans?
I'm busily getting all my hiking gear together. I'm quite excited. I'm keeping it local again, or relatively local, within Atlantic Canada. Heading to Newfoundland and Labrador on Sunday to Grossmorn National Park, that area. Doing a week-long retreat, which is going to be a mix of hiking, yoga. I think it's going to be a really nice blend of a whole lot of good stuff, which I, for various reasons, need. I think we all do, but being a mother of 2 adult children right now with busy lives, I feel the need for some self-care. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. And also just the challenge. There's going to be some longer hikes, 4-hour hikes, I understand, maybe 5. And, I've done lengthy hikes before, but it's one of those interesting, I'm kind of not sure about the whole thing, but at the same time, I'm really pushing myself, and at the same time, as part of my own rebrand, my website, I'm trying to encourage women to do this, to do these types of trips. So I figure I've got to practice what I preach and get out there.
You got to walk the talk.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
Excellent. And Sandra?
I've lived in Canada for 40 years and I've never seen the Northern Lights. And someone has recently pointed out some cruises by Hurtigruten.
That's our trip?
No, not your trip, but a different one. But I was shocked at how reasonable the prices were for that company. So anybody can do it. It's not a lot out of your bank account, and you get into a part of the world that is just totally different, quiet, beautiful, and so that's a perfect aim.
Yeah, we Karen and I were both on our Northern Lights trip last November with Hurtigruten. Didn't see so many Northern Lights. No. So this year we're doing it in March, which is supposed to be the best time to go. So yeah, looking forward to that.
I've given up. 4 attempts to see the Northern Lights. I've yet to see them. I'm done.
Well, according to the weather reports these days, you might be able to see them in New York. So
in New York City, good luck.
True enough.
I saw them once in Iceland, but I had to see them through my iPhone. My eyes could not see them, but the moment I looked at my iPhone, I could see them. Go figure.
Yeah. And Carolyn, where are you off to?
On Monday, I'm actually going on an expedition kayaking trip. So I'm heading up to Ningaloo Reef, which I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's Australia's other big coral reef, which is on the west coast of Australia. So it's quite local, I suppose. It's only a 2-hour flight from here to where I'll start. And yeah, we'll be paddling kayaks and camping out on the beach, pulling everything out of the kayaks and putting everything back in. And snorkeling along the way, probably see some turtles and harmless reef sharks, maybe a manta ray. So yeah, that's my next trip on Monday.
Amazing. That sounds amazing. Did everybody share? Did I miss anyone?
And where are you off to?
Oh, I have an odyssey, but somehow I have 3 coinciding trips all together, which I did plan, but tomorrow I'm off to Spain on my second trip this year with Spain Tourism to small villages in southern Spain, it's probably my favorite part of Spain, so I'm excited about that. And it's specifically for solo women, so that's what we're looking at, is safe places for solo women to stay. Nerja, Ronda, Malaga, places like that. And then we have our JourneyWoman volunteer trip in South Africa right after that. So I'll be flying down to meet about 10 JourneyWomen that have signed up for a week, about 10 days with Blue Sky Society Trust to do volunteer work and work with animals. And then my daughter has convinced me that it would be a great idea to take her to Morocco on her 25th birthday. So yes, that's my next trip. So I'll fly from South Africa to Morocco, and then spend her birthday in Morocco, which I'm looking forward to. What she really wanted to do was spend her birthday night in the Sahara Desert. So that's part of our plan. So so busy couple of weeks coming up, in the throes of packing and planning to wear just about the same thing every day. So that's my plan. Yeah. Well, thank you all for joining tonight to talk about your travels and share your advice and tips. And to all the JourneyWoman readers out there, we hope this has inspired you to think a little bit about some other places to go and a few tips along the way. So thank you.
It was lovely being.
Thank you.
Au revoir.
It was really fun.
Au revoir.
Happy travels,
Happy
everyone.
travels.
Safe travels.